Moving on, Chicago businessman Tahawwur Rana has been sentenced to 14 years in prison for providing material support to Pakistani terror group the Lashkar-e-Toiba, the LET, in its failed attempt to attack the Danish newspaper that printed cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad. Rana's 3-week-long trial also established that the LET was behind the 26/11 Mumbai attack that left over 160 dead. Sarah Jacob attended the hearing in court and reports from Chicago.
Tahawwur Rana's attorney pleaded for a more lenient sentence, arguing that Rana was a good man who got sucked into the wrong company. But the judge was having none of that. Mincing no words, Judge Harry Linen-Weber said he was baffled at those who've described Rana as a kind and caring man. He said he was unable to understand how a person of Rana's intelligence, a doctor with a background and history of helping others, could get sucked into a dastardly plot hatched by terrorists. We caught up with Rana's attorney just minutes after the sentencing.
Well, I think what the judge was trying to say, and it's kind of a thought that I have as well, is it's hard to comprehend the mindset of people who would engage in the kind of plots that were discussed in this case. I personally don't believe that Mr. Rana has that mindset. As I said to the jury in closing arguments in the case, I believe that Headley duped Rana and that Rana did not know what was going on.
David Headley clearly was the big fish in this whole story. Tahawwur Rana, your client, was just a small fry. Now that he's gotten 14 years, does this mean David Headley is going to get more, or at least should get more?
I don't think anybody would argue that he should not get more than Rana. I'm not going to presume what Judge Linen-Weber will do, but Headley, I believe, is looking at a very significant sentence.
You had also, in the paperwork you filed in the last 2-3 days, pointed out some inconsistencies in this whole case. The fact that Headley's wife herself, Shazia, has not been questioned even though she knew of the attack, and she even congratulated her husband.
One of the things we do in sentencing is ask a judge to compare similarly situated people, and then obviously people who have done similar things or have been convicted of it should get similar sentences. What we were suggesting is that Headley's wife had engaged in conduct which was worse than Mr. Rana's, and yet has not been arrested, prosecuted, and of course not sentenced, because she's not even been arrested.
Lastly, your client, has he expressed any sort of remorse for the lives of all those people who died in 26/11?
One of the things that Mr. Rana said to me once, he told me that there was a phrase in Urdu which, if I recall correctly, means peace and love to everyone, and that's what he said after his conviction. He has consistently expressed how terrible of an event that was, but he has consistently said that he did not participate in any plot against Mumbai. I believe that certainly to be the case, and he has consistently said that those events were horrible, the loss of life and the injuries to people he has expressed are horrible and incomprehensible, and that he would never be involved in something like that. And I don't know the phrase that he used, I don't remember it, but I remember him telling me that.
While the jury may have acquitted Rana of his involvement in the 26/11 attacks, the evidence submitted during his trial proved what the Indian government has been saying all along, that the Pakistan terror group Lashkar-e-Toiba was behind the Mumbai attacks.
It's a real irony. You have essentially Headley, an important operative, a scout here in the United States, and Rana, a low-ranking associate. But otherwise, you have really the masterminds, people who, like Sajid Mir, who we know what he looks like. His voice has been broadcast to the world, ordering murders, yet Pakistan remains unable or unwilling to arrest them despite pressure from India and the U.S. and other governments. It's a remarkable and ironic situation.
The question now is, what sentence will co-accused David Coleman Headley be given? Having pleaded guilty to plotting the Mumbai terror attacks, in which 666 people, including 6 Americans, were killed, it seems logical that at the very least his sentence will match Rana's, if not be harsher. However, the smooth-talking Pakistani American has entered into a plea bargain deal with US authorities. In return for his testimony against smaller fry accomplices like Rana, he has ensured that he will avoid the death penalty and that he cannot be extradited to India, Pakistan or Denmark. So the question is, can and will Headley really be given a just and harsh sentence, given the fact that the US war on terror is far from over and his cooperation against groups like the Lashkar-e-Toiba and the Jaish-e-Mohammed may still be required going into the future. In Chicago, Sarah Jacob, NDTV.